it seems like football nowadays is all about analytics.
So you not only have the video that you can review, then you also can tell how players react in that situation.
Could find out the tendencies of players in particular situations. So the coach could say, okay, if this player on Utah's doing this, he's probably going to react this way.
There's fun in being able to predict what the other team's going to do and try to outsmart them.
That's fun. Strategies outsmart your opponent. I am a professor at Brigham Young University, BYU. I've been here 22 years. Before that, I worked in the industry for over 11 years. My research has always been in computer vision, visual information processing. So in about 10 years, well, 12 years ago, I kind of start using machine learning for my visual information processing. So been doing that since, and of course I want to mention one thing, when people think right now, okay, nowadays, when people talk about AI, they would talk about ChatGPT, right? Okay. And what I want to say is that AI is not just ChatGPT. It's got other things also. Okay. And one of those many things that I do is using that AI for visual information processing. So that's kind of my expertise.
How did you get interested in that sort of thing? Is it something you always wanted to do, or was there somebody that inspired you? Or
Well, I've always been doing visual information processing, so images, videos, that input from camera. Okay, about like 35 years ago. Since the smartphone became so popular everywhere, the cost of using camera dropped also, and I think that pushed the use of vision or visual information processing quite a bit in the last probably 15 years. So it's a lot easier to process, to get videos and images for processing. I've always been interested in processing videos and images. And early days, I used that technology for processing like images for food inspection, agriculture, robots, that require visual information. So that's kind of my focus for a while. And about 12 years ago, kind of switched from traditional computer vision to more the AI based vision. So I have successfully applied that to, again, food and agriculture industries. Um, Taught a few classes using AI vision for self-driving cars, and so that kind of thing. That's my my interest and my passion. So besides football, I also use it for many things like facial motion for authentication. So that's actually the biggest thing that I'm doing right now is to authenticate, to verify your identity. You don't just show your face, you also use your facial motion to make a specific motion as your password. So like you could just wink, or you could do hello, or you could do open sesame. Okay, so that's what the biggest thing I'm doing now besides football. I know you're interested in football, but I want to mention that that's also very cool. So that increase the security. So instead of people using a picture of your face to get into your system, they also need to know the secret facial password.
Yeah. So do you think Apple will implement something like that for their phones eventually?
No, I think Apple has a Face ID that works very well, right?
Uh-huh.
It's scanning the three-dimensional of your face, and it's got infrared, so you can do it in the dark. So our technology, it's more for, you know, other authentication, like on your laptop, check into a hotel, go to your hotel room, get in your car, so just add a security to the traditional facial recognition. So that's also AI vision, right? So it's just using artificial intelligence to analyze your facial motion.
So you
That's
have a
very
lot. It sounds like there's two parts of it. There's the image part. You need
Yes.
a good camera, obviously, and those are sort of prevalent everywhere now. But you
Mm,
also need the computer science behind it to analyze what the camera's looking at. Can you go
yes.
into a little bit about how that works with football or any other projects you're working on as well?
So other projects, so like I said, about 12, 15 years ago, mostly you do in a more traditional way.
Mhm.
So human has to look at the image. So give you an example. If I want to use this technology to inspect, say, apple or some fruit, I need to design an algorithm to look into what information I need. So human designed it. Okay, I'm looking at the rot spot on the apple surface, or I'm looking at a you know broken parts or something. So I need to design algorithm to look at what I should look for. So you have human involved. So that's how it works. And then you, of course, you write your code to implement it. But now a lot of this kind of applications, you don't get human involved. You just you just provide the images. Say this is a good apple, this is a bad apple, good apple, bad apple, good apple, bad apple, and you get enough of that, and the algorithm learns. So
Okay.
then you learn what's good, what's bad.
Do you feed those into some kind of program then, like computer program?
Well, now the most popular ones we use, like a Google TensorFlow,
Mm-hmm. We've heard of that. Yep.
deep learning, and Meta has the PyTorch. So these are the libraries or the tools that we use, and a lot of people design this neural network using these tools, and different network perform different tasks. So that's kind of the trend right now going. So you don't get too much human involvement. You just provide samples, and it learns on its own. So that's kind of how it works for inspection applications. For for football project, we have a similar network. We will go detect the players, and then you have to differentiate players from anything in the background. Also maybe logo or some painting on the grass. So you first task, you detect the players, and then you can track them if you have video, how they move, right? So what we have done was to first we detect the players, and we use neural network, we call deep learning to do that. And then the second step is once we detect them, we know the location. Then we apply another neural network to determine what positions they play in. It- It's this player a quarterback, or this player a receiver, offense line, or tight end, or running back. Okay, so we call that position. So we detect the location, and we determine their positions. Then the third step is also using a neural network to then recognize the formation. Okay. So there's different formations in football. You know, they have
Mhm.
formation families, and I don't know if you play Madden video game. So you can choose from different formation family and then pick a formation, and then they just show you the players, you know, and then you hit play, and then they start moving. Right. So yeah, so our third step is actually looking at the locations and the positions they play in, and then we can recognize the formation. Yeah, that's what we have so far. And it's kind of limited to the data that we have because we started 3 years ago. We thought, AI vision, it can definitely be applied to football. So without any data, we just purchased a copy of, I think it was Madden 20. Okay. And I hire students to play video games.
Yeah, that's a great class to be in there.
Oh yeah. And they collect a lot of images, and we use those images to train our algorithm for all three steps: finding the players, determine the positions they play in, and then the formation. Okay. So that's what we have accomplished, right, so far. And it was limited to things that well, one thing I didn't realize until recently, actually, in the Madden video game, you can actually record video
Oh
like
wow.
like instant replay. So you finish one play, you can go to instant replay to replay that play, and then you can position the cameras anywhere you want, and then you can record, and we can record that video. If that's the input, then we can do a lot of more than what we have so far. So we could take a video recording of the entire game, and we can have the cut up for each play, and then we can recognize the formation of each play. We can even detect the down, first and 10, second and 3, the where you start, and then so pretty much you can annotate the entire game, and then you can cut out the part that's substitution or timeout, or uh, end of the quarter, end of the half. So you can get rid of all of that. You only keep a video clip for each play from the beginning of the game to the end. So now with that information, I also know what formation they start for each play, and I can also track the movement of the player. So then
Okay.
you know how the quarterback move, how the receiver run their routes, running back, how they move. So you not only have the video that you can review, then you also can tell what formation and how players react in that situation. And with all this data, then it comes into AI, right? So you can then train your AI to even like detect the tendency or even predict, or at least for training purposes, right?
Yeah, that's
You
incredible.
you have the players prepare for the game, and you have the coaches to game plan.
So it's almost like you could say to if you guys put all the date, say BYU is playing, I don't know who their rival is, but they're big.
Utah,
What's
okay,
that?
University of Utah.
Utah. Okay, so say they're playing the University of Utah, you could analyze Utah's last 20 games or 10 games or whatever, however many, and you could find out the tendencies of players in particular situations. So the coach could say, okay, if this player on Utah is doing this, he's probably going to react this way. like
Mm.
80% of the time. Is that sort of the advantage of doing these kind of things?
Yes,
Okay.
if we have video.
If you have video. Oh, which is hard for college, probably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, and the way they record it, it's quite different.
Because I was reading an article, you need overhead shots, right? Like that helps you guys?
The higher the better,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't need a bird's eye view, just higher, like BYU, if we could mount the camera by the press box
Uh-huh.
and look down the whole field, and you get the data automatically.
That's just as good as bird's eye?
Yeah, I mean, we can live with that,
Okay.
higher. Of course, higher is better. Bird's eye view is ideal, but I know it's probably not possible. But the higher the better. So you don't need to hire people to manually collect that data. You can just run it through, and then you get the data.
Why is it the case that higher is better? I
Because-
would think being closer to certain players, you'd be able to see certain movements better. Why would you want to be higher so you can see the whole field?
Okay, so I mean, you don't necessarily have to see the whole field, but you do want to be able to see all the players for one play. You can turn the camera, okay, but you want to be able to be higher up so that you can see all 22 players. Right now, the data we have, the camera is looking at from the back of the offense at about 30 degrees above ground. So now you see, in that case, the quarterback will be most likely blocking the center, and the offense line quite often blocked the camera view to see the defense line. So that's kind of the biggest challenge, and it's something that can be avoided. The challenge can be avoided if we can have video from higher up. Okay, the higher the better, because you don't have the occlusion problem.
Is it possible to get a drone to record the games?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
would that be cool?
Yeah.
Or even like the blip,
Yeah, the Goodyear blimp, yeah.
Yeah, just stay up there, look down.
Right.
Yeah, some NFL, they have the camera that controlled by wire that you can
Mhm.
hover over, but they move a lot. Sometimes they zoom in,
Right.
to see a specific player or play. So you want to be able to really get the data, you want to be able to see the entire play plays out. So you see all 22 players. Right now it's a little bit challenging. I mean, we're doing okay. We can detect the players about 95, 96% of the time, of the players we have in the data. So
Mhm.
we occasionally miss a few because we know you got to have 22 on the field. So if we detect 21, so we know one it's missing. And we, based on where they are, we could kind of guess, oh, it's the center that's missing. Or, just there are some rules that can be applied to mitigate that kind of problem. But it would be ideal to see it from high up, an entire play. Of course, the best would be to see the entire field.
So, how did you get this idea to start applying it to football? Was it one of the students that came up with it? Was it something that you came up with?
Well, probably collectively, So I like to watch football games, college or professional. And 3 years ago, we were thinking, what can we do? Maybe we could help BYU to play better,
After a big loss, you're like, "We can help here."
Yeah. So then we talked to them, and then they gave us some videos to work on. But then the videos we got are not quite ideal because they zoom in or zoom back out. So that's why we went to use Madden game. to collect data, just for proof of concept, right? So
So
yeah, because I'm working on research in this area, so I just watching football game. I was saying, oh wait, if we could do that, that'd be nice, you know. So
yeah, you when you're in a certain area, you view everything through that certain lens of research. I understand
exactly. Well, I see an apple
that.
in
Yes.
the supermarket, and I say, oh, is that good or bad? You know,
Yes. Oh, that's so
oh,
funny. Yeah.
color is not good. Oh, shape is weird. You know, this should this should be used to make applesauce. It shouldn't be in a you know in a
Right.
box or something. Yeah, it's kind of a I
Yeah.
guess occupational hazard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. From a philosophy background, I definitely understand that you're viewing everything. You don't look at the world the same way that some other people do. But
Yeah.
so how many students are working on this with you? Is it primarily you or?
First, I had two students work on it, and then one left. The other one finished to where we are, and then two more students took over just for a little bit because we didn't have any resources, so I kind of redirected focus to the facial motion authentication because I feel like
Right.
that's more promising. We have two PhD students could go into this, you know, if we could get some the collaboration or some funding. But BYU uh, University Communications Department sent out a press release in February, so right before Super Bowl, and they wrote a article about our research, and they released that. And since then, I have received multiple requests for interview, a phone interview or Zoom, you know, and there are several articles came out, some from universities, you know, and so because of that publicity, this project looks like it's going to come back in life, you know. So I get call from football coaches, also talk to company who uh, company that does the sports analytics, you know, for football, other sports. So I'm getting some, you know, like interest in this. So I hired another student just last week to pick it up and work on it more.
Is the BYU coach in your ear wanting you to get this done or what?
Well, I talked to one person on the team, and he's very interested. He told me that, oh, this could go further. You could make it a very good training tool, and and that, you know. But then the football season starts, and then everybody gets so busy. So
Yeah.
yeah, so my plan is to go back to Madden and do the instant replay to collect more images and videos and really prove that, hey, this thing could work if we have video, and then hopefully we can take it somewhere. I'm sure there are other people, teams maybe trying to do that, but I think we have a pretty good focus, right? So annotate video, annotate the entire football game, extract the data, and once you get that data, then you have many different ways to use that data.
Yeah, and it seems like football nowadays is all about analytics.
I think, yeah, it's kind of going that direction.
A lot
Right?
of coaches are making their decisions based on analytics. So I think
Mm,
that they would actually adopt this sort of thing openly.
yeah, I would think so. So right now maybe people are doing it on their own, or they have a subscription for some service, but you got to automate that. If you can automate that process, then the data you get will be a lot more, than what you can do manually. You mentioned we also, because of this press release, we're also helping annotating the tennis match.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easier. You only have 2 players or 4 players. Okay, and they don't. I mean, they don't have weird formations and trick plays. So, but we're
And the
doing
camera
that.
angles are probably really good for tennis. I'd imagine they're all
You
overhead.
can mount it at a fixed location
Mhm.
for the entire match that you don't have to move it. Yeah, things like that. And there's a lot of things you can do, using AI. So match AI with vision. It's quite interesting what you can do.
Yeah. So you guys are sounds like your one of your prime focuses is on collecting good data right now. Do you have a program to analyze the data for football that is like open source or some kind of software program?
No, we have software can do the formation recognition now,
Hmm.
but it's only for the still image.
Okay.
That we can do already. Okay.
Gotcha.
And it worked very well. So what I'm thinking is to have a higher view of the whole play, then we can track how the players move. And then you can expand from there to annotate the entire football game.
Gotcha. So that's the goal, is to create a software to analyze an entire football game one day
Mhm.
and have
Yeah.
use AI to predict player movement and things like that.
Yeah, but you want to use AI, sure, to
Mhm.
to analyze the data, right? But
Okay.
you need to have data
Yeah.
to be analyzed, right?
Okay.
So you need to have say for example, this team, you may want to have the last 10, 20 games, and you can extract the data automatically. Then you can apply the data to your algorithm to
Okay.
analyze. But other than, if not, it's just a long process manually doing that, and also it's not accurate, right? So
Mhm.
using video, you can actually locate the players very accurately, how they move. You think if you do it manually, it won't be very accurate how they move.
Like, when you say how they move, what do you mean by that? Like
Like, so
predicting?
once the ball is snapped,
Uh-huh.
all 22 players will be moving, right?
Okay.
Where they move. So how from this formation, how they move. So for example, the quarterback, how the quarterback move once the ball is snapped, or the defense back, how they react to it.
So you're saying, like, how they move is as in analyzing how they move and accurately recording that data in some kind of.
Yeah, from the video, they move, right?
Yeah.
But we can detect the player and track their movement, so we know how, for example, how the receivers run. I'm not a coach, so
Mhm.
I'm still learning what kind of data would be useful. Okay, but I'd imagine if we can do what I just described, then there will be a lot of data that you can extract from there.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure, like, one of the things you could probably do is if you analyze a bunch of data, you put it into some kind of software eventually one day, have AI analyze it, and you can say, if the running back lines up behind the quarterback this far off on the right side, 90% chance he's going to run it up the middle, or 90% chance he's going
Mhm.
to take a sweep to the right. So then
Yeah,
that gives the defense a huge advantage.
yeah, and also the situation.
yeah, third down, second
Yeah,
down.
yeah, the down 1st and 10, or it's third and 9. And also the score. Are you leading or are you
Yeah.
trailing? and the time, the clock management, right? So
Yeah.
are we in the last 30 seconds? I think you react differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, it's information to be used, right? But then you need to have the information, and
Which is
this you cannot generate, right? This you need to get this data from the actual game.
How important is that you track the ball? So we're talking about player movements, like
Mhm.
tracking the ball to be. I mean, I'm sure when you look at player movements, you'd be able to tell this is a pass play, this is a run play, just by the way that they're running or the way that
Mhm.
they're blocking. But is it important that you track the ball, and if so, how?
Tracking the ball would be challenging. Okay, it's not impossible because you you could get information from how they move. I mean, get kind of predict the running back has the ball, or you don't. Kind of other information you can learn, but you do need to have good quality of the video if you want to do that.
I'm thinking it's possible if you look at the way, because we know the ball is going to start with the quarterback. So if we look at the way the ball, who the quarterback maybe gets close to, if he gets close enough to the running back, we can maybe look at the defenders, who the defenders are kind of going towards could have the ball or
Yeah,
something like that. I'm thinking
yeah. Well, I mean, defenders could be fooled
that's true
if
too.
they fake
See
it
it later in
well.
the play, right? You'd see it later in the play when the play ended or something like that.
So this is what we have dealt with because we're able to work only on the image right now. So if I have the recording of the entire play, I can process it based on all this you just described, right? In the end, where all the defenders move toward, um,
Right.
and where it stop, and then you can kind of predict or kind of analyze and say, yeah, the ball, it's the running back at the ball, or the quarterback tuck it in and then ran for it, or
Yeah.
the pass,
Especially in BYU and other college teams that run, the option and they fake the handoffs and the defense gets tricked.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would be a way to see at the end of the play, whoever gets tackled, there would be a way to backtrack it and say,
Yeah.
didn't know at this point, but now that we backtrack the play, we know he had the ball the whole time.
Yeah. So if you know the movement of the players, then you can see why they all it's like magnet, why they all run toward that. In
Yeah.
the end, right? So even if you don't see the ball, you could still extract some, useful information for it.
have you had any NFL teams reach out to you?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They probably doing something they just won't tell you, right?
Okay, yeah. They have their own program.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, if I could help well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So right now, I think I'm going to try to start from high school.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I was told that high school plays are, simpler,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier to recognize and predict. And then we'll go from there. And then, once you get something, yeah, maybe, one day they will come and say, hey,
Yeah.
we like this, I don't know. We started this for fun. And like I said, we were like, let's work on something else. But then with the publicity that was generated by BYU press release, now I'm having a second thought, So yeah, so hire a student. I'm going to go back and actually gather videos from the Madden game, and I also have access to some high school videos, and we're going to try to use those and see if we can do something.
So when when you're analyzing the Madden game, is the goal it sounds like it's two different worlds. You got the Madden world, the data for that, and the data for the college football or the real world.
Yeah.
For the Madden world, is it you put in so much data after a while, you can play a game and have the data predict what's going to happen? Is that the goal of it?
I'm hoping. Well,
Okay.
right now, the way we use it is that because when you play the game, you can pick the formation that how you want to play the offense, and then you record. You can do the instant replay to record it. So now we can use that data to improve what we have got. So we could find a player, we could locate the players, find what positions they play in, what formation, and then we can track them, how they move. So this will be good data, very good data for training our network.
I mean, it's like I think the options are endless here. Like one of the things that could happen is like esports is a big thing. I'm not a big video game player, but I'm sure if some esports guy wants to a leg up on his competition, this could help him because he has all this Madden data and he'd be like, okay, I know what this guy's next play is going to be. I'm going to call this play because he thinks I'm going to call this play. You know, like there's big money in that too. I mean, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, but right now we're just hoping. But we could do what you just said too, you know. But it's easier to collect data this way.
Mm-hmm.
And once we collect the data, we train our algorithm, and we can go back get more data to test it, and then we can train it more, and then we can go get the real data to train it.
Yeah, I think starting with high school is a really good idea with the simple plays. I think once you get to college and the NFL, especially like the higher level college teams, a lot of the routes that they're running, the receivers are running, a lot of them are improvisations. So they're not even planned a certain way. It's just based on where the defender's at and how they're going to react.
Yeah.
Which I also think if this developed enough, you could be able to predict that sort of thing too. Mm-hmm. Not only the set play, but maybe if they're going to run this play, if we lay off the receiver a lot, he's going to tend to do this sort of thing, like individual player scouting too. Mm-hmm. Or if we press up on this receiver and play him close, this is the sort of thing that he likes to do. So you can get kind of individual scouting tendencies.
Yeah, like you look at it and say, well, that's not very smart. Move that way, you know.
Or the coaches could say, because when coaches are putting in these game plans, like if a cornerback's guarding a receiver or covering a receiver, a lot of times they'll focus all week, not just on the team entirely, but that one player, right? Like you're going to be covering number 18 this week. Mm-hmm. So let's look at his data. Mm-hmm. You know, when it's third down, this is what he likes to do. When you play, 10 feet away from him, this is what he tends to do 80% of the time on third down. Yeah. So it could really help individual player analysis in that way too, which would be really cool.
And you could also be individual training of individual players.
That's true too.
Right? Because you can point out their bad tendencies. Is that what you're saying? Or like
if you have this video, or I mean the data, mm-hmm. and then you can see, okay, if we're going to play this formation, for defense, can I recognize the offense formation and how they do it, right? So, and for the offense, you can see, okay, with this formation, I recognize, and I'm the receiver, and the defense move that way. What would be the best way for me to move in this situation?
Just in recognizing the formations is such a huge step to be able to do that.
As far as I know, for at least high school level, you don't have that yet. And I Googled it the other day. There are like 16,000 high school football teams in the U.S. So,
and just like high school football is huge. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. Hunter's in Tennessee now because he's going to school there. But high school football around here is huge, and some teams have gigantic, huge. Like there's one team by St. Ed's is a football team by us, and their football team, their offensive line is like as big as NFL teams. You know, they're huge.
High school, huh?
High school football players are like 340 pounds or something on the offensive line. So this would be a huge help to a smaller team that is trying to compete with them, because there's no way they can deal with them physically. They need a leg up some mentally, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but then there's another thing that I saw something recently where AI is being used to help college football teams recruit high school kids, and this might be a good application for that as well, because they can see the tendencies of the kids they're trying to recruit instead of going to see them in person.
But you got to start with data, right? So.
Is there anything else about the project you wanted to share with us that you thought maybe we didn't ask enough, or that you thought was interesting about the project?
No, I think you have asked all the good questions.
The fun ones, at least. Yeah,
it's a very interesting project, and I think it definitely would be adopted by coaches. I mean, if you think about it, ultimately the coach is probably not going to go completely off of the data, but I don't think that's the point of what you're doing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if you got it to that point, I think it would be an aid to the coach, that this is what you can do, and then the coach can take that information and help him make a more informed decision. Is that correct?
Yeah. There's one of my students is showing me today that Amazon Prime Video, it's adding features in football game. When you watch, as a viewer, when you watch the football game, it will run in real time to tell you what would be the best play. And, you know,
wow.
So get viewers involved in the game. You know, it would be very interesting to watch a game like that. You will hear a lot say, "Oh, that's stupid. Why do you call that?"
Everyone knows the best play. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's applying AI for it.
So, is there a way that we're able to see the latest updates on the project? If there's ever any updates, will BYU, will your department release anything, or is there any way to follow kind of how this is going?
Well, yeah, sure. You know, I mean, it depends. You know, usually when we accomplish something, we will publish a paper like we did early this year. But then, you know, if we get to work on something like I described, and it's sponsored by someone who doesn't want people to know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then maybe not. You know, it depends, you know. But
like Utah University wants to steal this idea or something like that.
They're not going to
I mean, if BYU football ends up in the national championship game, we know your project's doing very well.
I don't know. Or maybe a high school in Cleveland, right? So,
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just doing it mostly because it's fun, and we know, you know, we have the knowledge to try out a few things, and we're just hoping that it could become useful. But I don't think it will ever replace the coaches. Okay, so for sure. Imagine you will have two supercomputers play against each other.
Yeah, that's crazy to even think about.
Then you don't even need players anymore.
Right. That's one rabbit hole after the next.
Yeah, you just use two supercomputers playing a Madden game. So, you know, I don't think it's going to happen, right? There's a limit.
Okay.
Because then you take away the fun. Then
right.
why are you doing it? You know, so why are you watching it?
There's fun in being able to predict what the other team's going to do and try to outsmart them and outperform
That's
them.
fun. Yes. Strategies, outsmart your opponents, right? That's fun. But you can use all kind of tools you can find, but you can't have the actual plays, you know, designed by a computer in real time, right? Like, you know, in baseball, they already have technology to show the strike zone and tell you if it's strike or not, right? It's out inside or outside. But why they don't replace human?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because it's fun. You need to
Yeah.
have
So fun.
human involved.
And you'd have nobody to yell at it when your team loses.
That's true. That takes away a lot of fun, right?
Somebody's got to scream at the TV.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to have that, right? Yeah. As much as it advanced, it just have to stop somewhere, right? For
If anybody watches and wants to learn more about the project, be sure to check it out. Check out the department. Look for updates on papers if anything comes out. And then be sure to subscribe to Ryan and I's newsletter. It's a weekday newsletter providing cool updates and the latest tools in artificial intelligence called Fry AI. The fries are just for fun because Ryan's daughter likes French fries. So you can find that at fry-ai.com.